The founder of Walmart once famously remarked, "We'll lower the cost of living. We'll lower the cost of living for everyone. We'll give the world an opportunity to see what it's like to save and have a better life." Now, what does that have to do with Walmart's impressive COVID-19 performance? Everything. The truth is, when America needed it the most American of all retailers stood up and really helped the country through one of its most trying times. Now, thinking about that original Sam Walton quote, I want to break this down into kind of three usable parts for this video so you guys can get a little sense about what I'm talking about with why I believe that Walmart really went back in time, take a lot of the fundamentals of Sam Walton during the time of his Waltons, 5 and 10, back now going around 70 years at this point when he had that original store in Bentonville, Arkansas. There was kind of three main areas within that quote. The first one's around working together, or what they kind of call community. You hear that word a ton at Walmart. Secondly, saving money, and then thirdly, improving lives. That's kind of the common thread within Walmart, or what Sam Walton, when he was creating Walmart in the early days, really focused a lot of his attention around. Now, working together, if we're breaking this down in this first element here, talking about working together or community, it's a little bit different than when Sam Walton was starting out his business. And that's because now Walmart is about a $500 billion company in revenue. They have about 5,500 US locations of Walmart and Sam's Club. So working together towards a common objective is not as easy as it used to be. Now, it's important to kind of think about when working together, there's multitude of stakeholders here, but primarily what we're talking about with stakeholders is first, shareholders. What's great for the Walmart publicly traded shareholders. You also have stakeholders like vendors, you have stakeholders like customers, you have the employees. All of those are stakeholders that need to be taken care of. But Walmart kind of combines all of that and makes sure that they're thinking about everything singularly as community. Can they include everybody work together to create what's best for the community? Walmart believes if they support the community, they'll continuously thrive. Employees being a part of the community, being one of the stakeholders that Walmart is obviously very much focused on, making sure that they are servicing customers great, they're keeping them happy, making sure they're providing a really strong and safe working environment. If you think about COVID-19 and what was happening during COVID-19 around the global health pandemic, a lot of employees were kind of worried about if they would get sick. A lot of the things that happened quickly within Walmart was because they actually had 2 of their employees die of COVID-19 around March 24th. That kind of created a lot of different domino effects in terms of like the level in which Walmart was focusing on their employee safety, and also the speed and the approach that they had supporting the community, customers, and the employees around the coronavirus pandemic. So a lot of the things that they did, contactless payment systems to make sure there wasn't exchange of money a lot of times, plexiglass barriers to make sure that there wasn't any like spit droplets or things getting transferred between a customer and an employee. You had metering of traffic, also flow of traffic within the stores, extending employee emergency leave. They didn't want employees to come in sick. A lot of times Walmart employees, they are what you would consider more of the working class. And a lot of times that means that they need that paycheck. They need to come in even when they're sick. If they're not going to get paid as an hourly employee, they need to come in to work. So Walmart made changes to make sure that they felt like they were going to get taken care of if they did feel sick. And then they also included a bunch of different social distance measures. They kind of took a step further, talking about like metering and the flow. They actually had their CEO get on national television in the morning and really talk about why it was important for consumers to not keep increasing their shopping trips. At that time, people were going a bunch of different times a week because they were having issues finding stock. They were trying to stock up different consumer packaged goods, fast moving consumer goods that they were looking for. And they actually went on and said, hey, make bigger trips once a week, make sure everybody's safe. We really don't want people to be adding some extra issues, both from a employee standpoint or a customer standpoint with health risks. try to make sure that you are shopping a little bit different during this time. Now, also Walmart has a kind of a unique stakeholder as well that they did take care of, and that is with some of their tenants. So at some of the Walmart supercenters that you've probably went to over the years, you know that they have some tenants that are sometimes like eye doctors or nail salons or something like that they have right at the front of the store. And Walmart actually waived rent for April for a lot of those small businesses. They knew how it was going to be a struggle. A lot of people were going to have to close those locations. And because of that, Walmart wanted to make sure these small businesses, these stakeholders, the community in which they were still taken care of. The second part of that original Sam Walton quote was around the saving money. And that is something like very fundamental to Walmart. Obviously, Walmart has really championed being a low-cost retailer. They actually launched Walmart fulfillment on their marketplace. That helped bring in more sellers, more interested sellers into the Walmart.com marketplace. When you have more sellers on there and you have more merchandise on the marketplace, that can drive prices down for a lot of the product categories that consumers are really interested in. And having a ton of people start shopping online, especially during COVID-19, that really helped provide a more competitive marketplace that did drive some pricing down. Along the lines of the marketplace, Walmart did a ton of things, extensive things, to make sure that there wasn't as much price gouging as some of the other marketplaces like Amazon. And on the flip side, Walmart made sure that all of the best pricing possible was still available during the COVID-19. With the way that Walmart does things with everyday low pricing, that actually helped alleviate a lot of the spikes that happened with maybe grocery stores or some other mass retailers doing a lot of their specials. When you pull that lever on a special, a lot of times the demand goes up. And even though you had a lot of things scheduled during that time for maybe a specific retailer, a lot of CPG brands pulled those things back because they knew they needed to make sure that they sustained a supply. And if they pulled those levers and demand spiked up, they weren't going to have enough for all the consumers. So what Walmart with the everyday low pricing actually helped, because they still sustained low pricing consistently during COVID-19 to help consumers when they needed it the most, when they were facing grim futures with their employment status. Another thing that was just recently announced was a partnership with ThredUp. Now, ThredUp is kind of a part of this, what I talked about in my 5 retail industry trends of 2020 that I was really looking at, this idea of like fake it till you make it consumer being that kind of a big trend. I'll pop up that video here if you guys do want to watch that. A lot of what I was talking about with like curated secondhand online marketplaces, having a ton of like secondhand products, really kind of creating thrift stores in a e-commerce way, unique e-commerce way. Also just the idea of like a lot of consumers focusing towards like mindful consumption and sustainability and making sure there's more of a circular economy. All those things were kind of feeding into what happened with ThredUp. Another thing that was positive for Walmart with ThredUp was that they gave access to a lot of the brands that would not necessarily be within Walmart, but at a price point that would be better for Walmart. So secondhand goods, be that a premium brand or be that a luxury brand, a lot of the consumers that maybe would have interest in picking up secondhand products works well within Walmart with their customer base that is looking for a bargain. And it's also very much asset light because this is a partnership and a lot of the goods are going to be on ThredUp here. They're not having to go out and invest in these brands. They're not investing in all this merchandising to make sure that it's on their books. Walmart's able just to partner with them, leverage some of their logistics and different things, their customer base, have that in the partnership with ThredUp. ThredUp is able to get more customer and more eyeballs on their selection of secondhand goods, and it just works out well. And the third part that I wanted to talk about was around like improving lives. In the first section, we were talking about working together and community, and it talked about employees and safety, but also just Walmart improving lives by being a big hirer, being somebody that hired a ton of people during COVID-19. I think around 200,000 people were hired by Walmart, either in store or some of their distribution centers during this time. So having a larger selection of employees, keeping people employed during this time helps the community as a whole, because obviously they're able to spend more money and things like that. It also just improves their lives. It gives them a predictable income stream to help the economy out and make sure they're not stressed out. Walmart's employment number overall is really massive, and it's something that is not given enough credit to amount of positivity they bring to the United States because of how many people that they employ. Now, not only did they hire a bunch of people, but they also took care of the people that were working for them. So they offered some frontline bonuses. They offered a ton of different employee benefits, both paid and unpaid. Walmart made sure that those employees lived a better life and were taken care of during this time. Another kind of element of improving lives that was really kind of focused on with Walmart was this idea around online grocery. Online grocery just kind of catapulted to the importance during COVID-19, and Walmart was at the forefront of this. They were already leading that category overall. A lot of retailers probably thought, hey, we're going to have time in 2020 to catch up to Walmart with some of our innovations, but Walmart was positioned perfectly for what happened around COVID-19. They were really thought of as somebody that was going to be well trusted, that was going to have inventory, low prices, everything that people were looking for at that time worked in the advantage of Walmart. Walmart also did an extremely good job at messaging and communicating to the people that were fresh into online grocery. You know, going from somewhere like 3 or 4% of online grocery up to closer to 15% within a few months. You know, you bring in a ton of new people trialing it. They've never tried anything around online grocery. So because of that, they don't know the process. They don't know how to do it. They don't know anything about that. So Walmart made a lot of effort to make sure it was messaged and communicated to those consumers in the best and easiest way. That really helped Walmart to acquire a ton more customers. I think they had record app downloads. They made their apps as easy as possible. They added some customer service elements and things of that nature to really help consumers during this time to live a better life, because you didn't necessarily want them to go into the stores. You wanted them to shop online and make sure that they were safe and have access to either be that pickup or delivery or whatever it is. Made sure that they had access to the right services, grocery online services, to make sure that they could be safe during restricted living situations across the United States. Furthermore, with this idea of online grocery and also like servicing a category of customers that didn't have access to online grocery, was that they really championed, and they've been championing for a while, but they really kind of leaned in hard around making sure that they could accept SNAP or like the food stamps for online grocery services. So in 2017, Walmart was one of the pilot retailers, I think the only one that did across all the states. They created a workaround that you could actually buy your products online, but you could pay with your SNAP card in person. So it was kind of a way for them to utilize the convenience of being able to select products online, but still having to pay for those things in person. So this, during a global health pandemic, you still obviously had somebody going into a store. They could potentially get sick. So Walmart wanted to take that element out and really create a more inclusive type of an experience with the SNAP recipients or SNAP users. So they were able to work with the government agency to allow the debit card usage in about 20 states. I think they've rolled that out to as many of the locations as possible to make sure that people can both pay online and pick up or get it delivered if they choose to do that. This kind of really opens up the opportunity and really kind of services a underdeveloped part of the market for online grocery. Anybody that is receiving SNAP, they are just as busy, if not more, than anybody else. They're dealing with more kind of challenges, and why should they not have access to the benefits of online grocery? So Walmart did a great job improving people's lives in that manner. Now, I would be remiss if I did not mention that there was kind of a counter that happened at Walmart with their online grocery offerings. They did start to offer this express delivery service. And I'll say straight up, I mean, like, this is a good idea overall. I mean, offering an express delivery, 2-hour deliveries. This obviously is to combat against their major competitor, Amazon. But the timing was a little bit off here. And I think that was one thing that they should have kind of thought about, was like, okay, we're dealing in the middle of a global pandemic. There's some issues with inventory. There's a ton of different things that are happening. This service might hurt the people that products the most, because we are kind of saying if you have the money to spend, because this was not a free service, this is something that you would have to pay for. If you're rich enough to pay for your groceries and have it express delivered, you would be able to get products first. And timing of that, probably not the best. Still a great business idea, but they could have really launched this in a better way. I'm thinking if they were able to maybe select some of the most vulnerable consumer groups, maybe SNAP recipients, maybe it was older customers, have some type of filters that really brought down to the most vulnerable customers and said, hey, we're going to let that be free for you. Try it out. Let's see how you like it. And we could still offer this for pay for some of the other people, but make sure it's available to everybody at the beginning. Now, after the pandemic, after there's, everybody's back to their normal shopping routines, things like that, launch it out, have it paid, take away some of those free filters, things like that. Totally fine. But I think that the timing and everything optics looked pretty bad. It was against some of the things that Sam Walton really was thinking about with that quote that I was talking about. I mean, it really was not focused on the community, on the customer. It really wasn't looking at saving money. It was helping improve people's lives, because the people that could afford it, it was improving their lives, but not everybody's lives. So it was one of those things where I think Sam Walton would not probably been too happy about that particular selection on the timing element of it. But I do think overall it's going to be a great business move for them. As I mentioned earlier in the video, I think Walmart really proved their strength during this time. They really stood up. They were what America needed the most. Net, they did a ton of really great things during this time. They really showed how nimble they are now. They really showed how they can change their business quickly. This was something that 3-4 years ago Walmart probably would not have been able to do, but they are now a much more nimbler business, a much more stronger business that is going to be somebody that is uniquely positioned to emerge as a winner, regardless of its new normal, future of the retail environment, whatever it is. Walmart's going to be there, and they're going to be in a very strong position. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you want to help support me, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up button on this video. If this is the first time you've been introduced to my videos, would love for you guys to be a part of my community by subscribing to my channel. I upload several videos just like this weekly. And if you guys want to connect further outside of this platform, I do include all of my social media links down below. I just want to thank you guys again for your time. Hopefully I gave you some value in return, and we'll see you guys on the next video.